So he brought out the thing, put the condom on it, and yes, so tried the other one. I don't know why I keep doing this, but so that you know what I mean. Hello guys, welcome to today's video. In today's video I'm going to be telling you my pregnancy and birth story. It's going to be full of ups and downs, joys and fear and sadness and tears, so you don't want to miss it. This is a story time video, so let's go all the way to the beginning. So if you have been on this channel, you know I have 3 children. My first 2 we had just after getting married, and then we decided to wait a while, and then we had our last child. So when we decided that we're ready to have a child, that's the 3rd child, we tried, and with God's blessings we got pregnant, and that's begun the roller coaster journey of this pregnancy. So anyway, when I found out I was pregnant, I bought one of those pregnancy strip things. I bought like 5 of them. So I did the test at home by myself. So I tested the first one, the second one, the 3rd one, and everything was positive. So I was excited, and I'm like, oh, baby number 3 is coming. So when my husband came home and I told him, and we were both excited, we were both ready for a 3rd child, and we were preparing our minds and basically very happy. So we didn't tell the other children at the time, or Meza Onizi, that we were expecting. We just decided to wait a while. So at about 7 weeks, I decided to do the normal 7 weeks ultrasound scan, where you listen to your baby's heartbeat and just basically make sure that everything is going according to plan. So that's what I did, and so I went to a very reputable testing center back then in Port Harcourt, and went to go do the ultrasound scan. Ultrasound. Am I the only one that has the hard time pronouncing this word? Ultrasound scan. While the ultrasound technician, I think that's what they're called, while he was doing the scan, you know how they put the gel and then they do the, So he was doing it, and I could tell from his face that he had this frown, like when you're looking for something and you can't find it. So he was searching and looking, and I said, is there a problem? And he was like, oh no, don't worry. And then he was checking and checking. So when he was done, he told me that he can't find the fetus. So he wants to use the more invasive ultrasound thing, the one that goes up in there. Yeah, that one. So he brought out the thing, put the condom on it, and yes, so tried the other one. I don't know why I keep doing this, but so that you know what I mean. So anyway, so he did the other one, and when he was done, he said basically that what I had was a blight ovum. So that's when conception happens. You do get pregnant, you do even get the pregnancy hormones, but even though the bag is formed, the bag where the baby is supposed to stay for 9 months is formed, there's no baby in there, so there's no fetus. So it's called a blight ovum, and that was that. So they recommended that what I needed to do was an evacuation. So basically a D&C. Yeah, I think I'm going to put the full meaning of the D&C there, but basically get rid of whatever was in there. So of course I was very, very sad, because when you get pregnant, you have already started playing the movie in your head of the whole 9 months having this baby. You have even thought until the baby's college, safe, university, getting married. You have played all those movies in your head already. So now what he was saying was that this was the end of this pregnancy. I was very sad. So yeah, when I got home and I told my husband about it, and he was like, oh, he was a bit, I honestly don't think that he was sad. I think that's what upsets me the most, because I felt like we had 2 children, a boy and a girl, and he wasn't that. That's how I felt, because the reason I felt that way, because after he said something like, oh no, I'm sorry, that's sad and everything. The next thing he said was like, ah, have you even heard the amount, that how much for $1 now? Have you heard how much dollar is selling for now? And I didn't know, I could not put the connection. I was just upset. I just started crying and just ran to my daughter's room and looked down. I was there, I was crying. And then of course at that point he realized how upset I was. So he was knocking on the door and was begging me to open the door, and I said no. Yeah. I was in that room for like 4 hours just crying my eyes out. Like my eyes were swollen from all the crying. I was just so sad by it. And then he was knocking, and then he called my cousin Runo, and Runo called me and was like, hey, you know, now it's just one of those things, you know, it happens sometimes, you know. She basically tried to make me feel better, and I think she did a better job of it than he did, because after the conversation I kind of just, you know, made my peace with it and washed my face and came out of the room. So I mean, at that point I had more or less accepted what was seemed like it was inevitable. The next day I got a visit from my friend Chat, and I told her what happened and why I was sad, and Chat was like, ah, what is that? Don't go and remove it. So I said, Chat, what are you saying? She said the baby is hiding. I said, hiding where? I'm skinny. I was much more skinny than I am now. I was so much smaller. So what part of this body is the baby hiding? That analogy did not make sense to me. And like, Chat, what are you talking about? She said, sometimes the babies are sneaky. They will just hide in one place and you will not see them. So I said, are you sure? She said, yes, wait. She insisted. She said, wait. So I said, okay. I was gonna wait. So I waited a week, and then I waited a few more days, not up to 2 weeks, but like a week plus. And then one morning I woke up, and as I got out of bed, I saw the whole room just spin. Like it was like the room was spinning, like I was going like this. So I had to fall back into bed just so that I don't fall on the floor. So that was very scary for me, because as far as pregnancy is concerned, I don't have all those issues of morning sickness, night sickness, dizziness. I have no issues, no spitting, no throwing up, nothing. The only challenge I have during pregnancy is maybe I sleep a lot. That's it. So when I got up and I said, okay, whatever is going on here, they want to kill me. The plan is to kill me. I will not agree. They cannot kill me. Oh, I'm going to remove this thing today. So I called my husband and I was like, you know what, I said I was going to wait too, but I can't. We have to get rid of whatever is going on today, because this thing is threatening my life. It's threatening my life. It has to go. So he said, okay, that's how you feel. So we got dressed, got in the car, he drove me to the hospital, and you know, so we told them what we wanted to do, that we wanted to get an evacuation done. And the owner of the hospital at the time, the director, was on call, and she's a gynecologist, so she wanted to see us. So went into her office and started to explain the situation to her, and she, you know, she was asking questions, and you know, ask questions that to me didn't really. She was asking a lot of questions. I was writing down, I was asking questions. Meanwhile, I was just looking like somebody that was not, in fact, I was not looking good. So my husband was like, see, this woman is not well. Do this thing, remove this thing for my wife and let her be fine. I cannot, all this talk you are talking is not making sense. Remove whatever this is. The woman was like, please, sir, I am doing my job. I was trained in the UK. I do not do things like that. Blah, 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 blah. So when I saw that it was getting heated between them, so I told my husband, okay, you know what, you go and I'll call you when I'm ready so you can come pick me up. So he said, okay. So he left. And then the doctor sent me to their own technician, the ultrasound. If I'm not pronouncing that word, we'll just manage it. You know what I mean? The scan. So I went to the scan guy, and he did the test. He didn't say anything to me. He just said, okay, you can go back to the doctor. When I got back into the doctor's office, the doctor said, so I told you and I told your husband that I need to do what I need to do. There is nothing wrong with your baby. Your baby is fine. We heard the heartbeat. Everything is perfect. Everything is looking good. you are not getting rid of this baby today. I was shocked, like, okay, wow, really? And so I said, why do I feel sick then? Why do I feel sick? This is weird for most people who are pregnant to hear that, you know, I'm worried that I was sick, because bear in mind that this is my third child. I've never been sick. I've never been this sick when I'm pregnant. So I was convinced something was wrong. But then she said, you are pregnant, that's what you are. That's why you're sick. So I didn't call my husband. When I called him, okay, I called him to come pick me up, but I didn't tell him what the doctor said. So when he got to the hospital, he was like, I met him in the car park, and he was like, okay, so have they done everything? Are you feeling okay? How did it go? And I said, no, they didn't do anything. The procedure was cancelled and everything. He's like, what happened? I said, because I'm still pregnant. The baby is fine. He was so shocked and so happy, and you know, we were both very happy, and you know, so the pregnancy journey began from there. Basically, it's about 3 months. My daughter, who was like 10, so this like 10 years in between my second and my third child, so this 10 years. So she was like 10 at the time, and she just looked at me one morning and said, Mom, are you pregnant? And then I said, yes, I was pregnant. So this was around 3 months. I said, yes, Onize, I'm pregnant. She was like, I knew it. Yeah. So her and her brother were very excited, because they've been asking for a baby for so long. So that was very exciting. And then fast forward to a month later, at 4 months, I woke up one morning and there was blood. Like, it was quite a lot of blood. So I was like, okay, what's again? What again is the problem? I mean, I don't understand. But this time around, I didn't tell anybody. I just got in my car and I drove to the hospital. I think my mom was even around at the time. She was at home. I didn't even mention anything to her. I just got in the car and drove to the hospital. So when I got to the hospital, of course, when a pregnant woman is bleeding, the first thing they're going to do is an ultrasound scan. You know, when the guy was doing his thing, he was asking, so you're bleeding and everything. So the next thing he asked me was, what church do you attend? I said, I go to Winners. I was going to Winners at the time. And he basically said something like, you know, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. What's like the God you are serving, keep serving that God, and you know, something in that line. So I said, are you saying baby is fine? He said, baby is perfectly fine. I said, there's nothing wrong. He said no. So I said, okay, so where is the blood coming from? He's like, madam, I don't know what you want me to tell you. Your baby is fine. So after then, I went to see the doctor, and the doctor said it was fine. You know, just try not to stress, stay off your feet as much as you can. You know, the whole drill. So yeah, so we continued, and the bleeding stopped by, I think by the second day it had sorted itself out and stopped. Then fast forward to 7 plus almost 8 months of the pregnancy. At that time we had decided that okay, we're going to have the child abroad, so bought tickets, got on a flight off to America. And it was a very long flight. You know, when you go through Qatar, you have to fly all the way to Qatar, 8 hours, from 8 hours to New York, maybe like 6 hours. It was a long flight, sure. So at the airport in New York, when I got off the plane, I just did not feel right. I didn't feel like, you know, when you don't feel yourself. Yeah, you're pregnant, but you still don't feel yourself. So when I got off the plane, in front of the airport, I took my shoes off. I was wearing canvas, and my feet were double the size. I was alarmed because, again, like I said, I've never had all these pregnancy symptoms. I've never had my feet swell for any reason. So I sat in front of the airport, put my feet up on my carry-on, and just sat for like 30 minutes just to see if it would go down, and it did go down a bit. So yeah, so I continued on my journey, spent one night in New York, then flew to my final destination. And then, interesting thing, I'll see if I can put a picture of this on somewhere around. My sister and I were pregnant at the same time, and I feel like our pregnancies were about the same, how do we say it, age, because she was like 7 months plus. I think I was around almost 8. So it was very, very close. So both of us were walking around with big tummies. And So when it was time for me to go to the hospital, she drove me to the hospital. So you imagine these two pregnant women walking into the hospital and coming to inquire. And no, I was just going for like my first test or checkup or something. And then as we were walking to this hospital, we saw this black guy, very tall guy, walking towards us, and it was like, "You guys are Nigerians." So we're laughing. I'm like, "How do you know?" He now said, "You know how we walk around like we own the place?" So all of us were laughing and cracking up. So he was like, "Okay, come, let me check you." That was me. So he sat me down, got the nurse to check my blood pressure and everything. And my blood pressure was scary. It was like 180, 190 over 110, 120. It was ridiculous. It was very high. The doctors and nurses were worried at that point, like, what's going on? Like, have you been under stress? So I said, okay, I think it might be the trip, because the trip was very stressful. It really was. So that might just be it. So I said, okay, so let's give you 2 days. You go home, bring your urine, take your urine. It was they had to take my urine from the morning, first thing when you wake up, or in the afternoon. It was just stressful. They gave me a whole jar for urine. So I went home for 2 days. They said try and stay in bed, which I did. I watched Power for the first time during that time. I watched all the episodes they had at that time. And after 2 days, I went to the hospital with my big bucket of urine. And as soon as I got there, first thing I went to triage, which is like emergency, the first place you go before you're checked. Anyway, so they checked the blood pressure again to see if there was any improvements, and it was still high, if not higher. At this point, they say you are having this baby today. And so before I knew it, I was in a room. They had connected the massagers on my leg just to make sure blood was circulating. They had put in catheter, because I was not going to get off that bed until I had that baby. And so when they said they are putting catheter, I was like, oh my god, this has to be painful, because I know what it was. It was, into the bladder. So yeah, and then the lady just did this and said she was done. I was like, I didn't feel anything. She said, yeah. So that was something that I thought was interesting, that it was not painful at all. So anyway, labor started. They induced me, and this was in the evening of the 15th September, and I was in labor for very close to 24 hours. I was not shouting. For those of you who were wondering, the person I shouted for was my first son. I was screaming for my first pregnancy. I was screaming so much that the next day people had to come and look and say, madam, are you the one shouting have you been the one shouting? Oh, so she's the one. That's how much I was screaming. So for this one, I told myself, after that first embarrassment, because it was embarrassing for me, in my defense, I was quite young. I wasn't expecting it, because for some reason nobody told me it was that painful. I've heard that it would be painful, but if I had gotten warning, I think I would have prepared my mind. So anyway, for the third one, I was prepared. So I was only doing the that's all I did. As a veteran, as a veteran in the labor industry. That makes no sense, but you know what I mean. So it took about close to 24 hours, and then the baby came. The birth was peaceful and smooth. While I was pregnant, how they monitor the heartbeat. The nurse was telling me he has the strongest heartbeat on the floor. Like, seriously, he's the strongest baby on the floor right now. So I was no more worried, because initially I was a bit worried having him at 8 months, because I was thinking he's not 9 months in yet, he's not going to be okay. The food it don't cook finish. You know what I mean? Now when you put something in the oven and it has not finished baking. So anyway, the nurse says he was fine, and he came out, he was perfect. And I could not just stop looking at him, and then he did that, and I saw he had these dimples. I'm like, oh my god. So yeah, so the birth itself was smooth. 24 hours I was in labor, and then he came and everything was perfect. He was like the most beautiful baby I've ever seen. Don't tell the rest of it. That was the end of the pregnancy. And then after having him, the blood pressure thing was still like up and down. They didn't let me out of the hospital because for my first two, I had my baby in the morning. In the evening, I was at home. They will make me sign and say what's it called, discharging yourself. I'll say yes, I'm discharging myself because I felt good. So for this one, they didn't let me go. I was in the hospital for another like 4 or 5 days because they were trying to get my blood pressure down. So this just made me understand that every pregnancy is different. Like, you just cannot just say, oh, this is the way my pregnancy is, because every time is going to be different. And another thing that affected, I think was a factor, was I was older. I wouldn't say I was old, but I was older than I was when I had the other ones in my early 20s. So that might have been a factor. I can't tell you why, but my last pregnancy was, yeah. But I'm going to be putting some pictures here so you can see the picture of the young man that puts me on this roller coaster, and I will not have it any other way because he's so worth it. But I would have preferred, to not have some of the drama. But I just thank God every day for everything. So I hope that this story helps somebody, it encourages somebody, it inspires somebody. If you are going through your TTC, please don't give up. If you're having miscarriages, if you are one of those mothers that's having miscarriages, I have had a couple of miscarriages. They are painful emotionally, even physically sometimes, but don't give up, keep trying, it will happen. And thank God for medical science right now. There's so much improvement out there that can help you no matter what the issue is. So don't give up, keep trying. If it's your dream to become a mom, keep trying, and I'm sure it will happen. I love you guys. I'll see you in my next video. Bye.